The Department of Homeland Security was met with backlash for several videos it posted on social media this week. One of the videos used a clip from comedian and podcaster Theo, where Vaughn says, "I heard you got deported, dude. Bye." Vaughn replied to the post saying, "Yo, DHS, I didn't approve this to be used. I didn't approve to be used in this. I know you know my address, so send a check. And please take this down. And please keep me out of your banger deportation videos. When it comes to immigration, my thoughts and heart are a lot more nuanced than this video allows. Bye."
The department did end up deleting that video, and Vaughn deleted his post too. I guess all is well. However, another DHS video also stirred controversy, this one using the theme song from the TV series Pokemon. The caption quoted the show's famous catchphrase, "Gotta catch 'em all," as the video showed a compilation of arrests made by Border Patrol and ICE agents. In a statement to The Hill, the Pokemon company says, quote, "Our company was not involved in the creation or distribution of this content, and permission was not granted for the use of our intellectual property."
Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom and White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller traded shots over social media. It started with this comment Newsom made regarding ICE agents when he appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
I mean, if some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back. And so these are not just authoritarian tendencies. These are authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government.
Stephen Miller responded to that video on X saying, quote, "This language incites violence and terrorism."
Newsom replied back to Miller, accusing him of inciting violence and terrorism. He referenced a clip from Fox News where Miller said the Democratic Party is, quote, "an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal alien killers and terrorists."
A lot to unpack here.
Where should we start with?
You want to start with the back and forth beef? I think that, when you take the same party that says, don't take President Trump and blame January 6th on him. He just told people he thinks the election is stolen, so they decided to do the criminal activity and storm the Capitol. Cannot be the same party saying, oh, by you saying words on a late show, entertainment show, you are inciting people to attack ICE. That actually, either pick a side, right? Are people actually inciting violence or are they not? And I think words matter. President Trump has said many things that Democrats have said too, called people fascist. They've called him back a fascist. Like, these all happen in unfortunately, in my opinion, our conversation and language has decreased to a level that I don't really love. I wish that we can elevate it and have real conversation and get stuff done, as we talked about Congress being ineffective. But I don't think that makes much sense to now try to point fingers and say who is causing what, when constantly that's our knee-jerk reaction, is to say, oh, the left causes, oh my gosh, this music artist causes, or a criminal committed a murder, a violent act, and they should be prosecuted, right? I don't know that they are specifically directly tied to anybody that has a tweet or a thought that they share.
So what I would say in response to that is, first of all, obviously there are crazy people on both sides of the political aisle. I would never dispute that. But I think one of the differences between the right-wing, let's call them terrorist killers, versus left-wing terrorist killers is that we do see a one-to-one mapping of rhetoric used by the political leaders on the left with what the killers are using. For example, the use of the word fascist, or the use of the terms anti-ICE or Gestapo, etc. Whereas on the right, it's like, okay, well, Trump told people that he thought the election was stolen, but he didn't tell people to go to the Capitol and break windows, etc. I just don't think it's a one-to-one mapping. But all of that being said, in the past, let's say 10 years, The Atlantic did a study that found that left-wing violence has increased significantly since Trump became a politician. And in fact, looking at some of the data that they used, which came from the CSIS, they still excluded a lot of incidences, including the riots in the summer of 2020 and several other left-wing incidences that people pointed out on social media. So it's actually quite higher than what they actually included in their study. Even just in the past month, we have seen multiple attacks on Border Patrol or ICE agents, including the recent one in Dallas. We had the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We had a shooter yelling "Free Palestine" before firing on a country club. We had someone plant a bomb.
Just to pause right there, I want you to keep going, but Marjorie Taylor Greene also is calling what's happening in Palestine a genocide. So that's like, what side is that to pin to? Everything can't just be pinned to the left. I think that's when we start to conflate all the things that are happening. And also with the ICE shooting in Texas, News Nation reported this morning that his family member actually said he is not anti-ICE, and he also was not left-leaning. So how do we connect those dots when the people closest to him are saying that's untrue? Maybe he's doing this to stir up controversy, kind of like when you look at Dylan Roof. There's Republicans that cite the Great Replacement Theory, which is a conspiracy that somehow white people are trying to be, or people of color are trying to eradicate white people off the face of the earth, which is just a complete lie and conspiracy. And that incites people like Dylan Roof to go to a grocery store that's mostly black and shoot, or a church and shoot it up, people that are mostly black. And so that's what I'm saying. I don't connect those dots to J.D. Vance, who's mentioned Great Replacement Theory before. I don't connect those dots to a podcaster that's on the right. I connect the dots to a murderer and a criminal. And I think we could take any instance, and until it's unpacked fully, like what happened on Wednesday in Dallas at the ICE facility, we have to be careful and mindful of pointing the finger, because his family members are saying, no, he's not.
Lindsay, they found notes at his residence saying that he wanted to terrorize ICE agents, and that he wanted them to think every time they detained someone that there could be someone with a rifle on a rooftop ready to shoot at them. That's pretty clear.
If the point is to incite violence, though, like that doesn't mean that you're on
so
the left.
it was
That
a
could
false
mean
flag?
No, that could mean you're trying to incite, you're trying to rally everybody up, you're trying to start somewhat of a civil war. So if you think about what's happening, and if you think about Dylan Roof, he specifically was saying that he wanted to rile the country up to a point where white people come against black people, and we do exactly what he wanted us to do. Do I know that he was completely on the right and trying to vote for President Trump? No. But do I think that the language could be toned down? Sure. But I still don't think that because President Trump has said things, Dylan Roof shot people, right? I don't connect those dots. And I don't think that you should on the left either, because no one, just like you said, President Trump didn't say, go to the Capitol, storm it. And even if Democrats said fascist, they didn't say, go down and do this, kill ICE agents. They didn't say that.
I mean, Maxine Waters has said that Trump officials should never be comfortable in public, that Democrats have said that people should take to the streets. I mean,
President Trump said that it's going to be a bloodbath if he doesn't win. And this was like, oh, you're misconstruing it. So that's what I'm saying. They were playing the political game of what's allowed. Bloodbath should never be used, especially after an assassination attempt. But if he loses, it'll be a bloodbath. What are we talking about? Like, we talk about a president that we allow so much jargon from, but now everybody else has to tone it down and to make sure they're not inciting anything. But he certainly doesn't. And I think if you're going to start from the top, make sure that's the finger you're pointing at first, and then look around after that to congressional leaders and other people, governors like Gavin Newsom. I just think that's trying to find any scapegoat to blame on somebody just being a deranged murderer.
Let's go with this. Do you think it's wrong to call ICE the Gestapo?
For sure. I think that we overuse Nazi terminology in our country, and we minimize what actually happened to people there. So I think both sides, both do it, should stop using it, right? There's a conversation of calling people, Trump has called people fascists before on the left. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we're using language to try to associate people with an entire negative movement. And I think that language should be toned down.
But it's only the left that is using the term fascist when they're killing their political enemies.
No, I can go comb through examples of President Trump using fascists, and I'll let you know when it was. I don't have every example.
I know, but my point is that no one on the right has shot a Democrat and wrote fascist on the bullet.
So because the bullet changed, it still was political violence that happened to Melissa Hortman and her husband. So it still was political violence.
Well, that guy was obviously insane.
There's an exception for him.
Let me finish. Because he wrote in his letter to the FBI that he did it on behalf of Tim Walz.
Okay, so because he's insane and because he's left-leaning now that you're saying, I mean, because he's
insane. I'm saying that
he's like, he killed Democratic.
I'm not saying he's left-leaning. I'm saying that there's no clear political motivation.
And in the ICE incident, they're still trying to gather details. And so instead of rushing the point to Gavin Newsom,
they found him admitting his motivation.
His family members are saying something different. So that's what I'm saying. Well, he could be trying to incite an issue.
Well, the family didn't know that Tyler Robinson was wanting to kill Charlie Kirk. He described him as hateful, but...
Right, he grew up in a family of a Republican mother and father who voted for President Trump. So
parents don't always know their kids.
I know, but when you go to college, you think that your parents have a heavy influence on you. That's life. Parents do have an influence on their children. And so you don't know what your political views are going to be. And so he could be developing them, or he could be anti his parents and just have a psychotic breakdown, just like you explained about in the Melissa Hortman situation.
That's what I'm saying about the ICE shooter. Like, his family saying something when he's literally written in his own words on a paper, and we're like, oh no, well, he could have just been doing this for like a different reason than the one he explicitly stated.
No, my main point is that we're trying to connect it to people like Gavin Newsom, and I think that's a silly argument. This man has a problem and was a murderer.
There's been 1,000% increase on attacks on ICE agents over the past year, right? So where is that coming from?
ICE agents should not be attacked. ICE agents should also not wear masks. Two things can be true at once. They shouldn't be masked ICE agents walking around with no label saying that they are federal authorities or police. They should definitely.
So that we can risk them getting killed even more frequently.
No, I don't think they're going to get killed even more frequently.
People are already
doxing them. Self-identify. I think they should self-identify that they're law enforcement.
People are trying to show up to their homes to scare their families, to terrorize them.
People can have two conversations. I think that, like I said, ICE should definitely be unmasked, but at the same time, we should not be hurting any ICE officials.
Is it enough for you that they would wear badges or
something to identify? It can't be like an unmarked outfit with a mask on also.
So for all undercover police officers, should they have to identify themselves too if they're running?
I believe in transparency in government, just like I thought MAGA did. They want transparency. They want body cameras. They want to understand what's going on. So yes, I would like to see more of identifying. That's why we have with no knock warrants, unidentified people sometimes, and then you end up in a shootout. People die for no reason. This is what I'm saying. Yes, I would like to see more transparency across the board. I'd love that.
No undercover ever.
I'd like to see transparency in it. So wear body cameras.
That doesn't answer the question.
They can be undercover, but have transparency in it. So have a body camera on if you must go undercover.
Okay.
I want to know what's going on.
So ICE can wear masks and be undercover, but they have to have a body camera on.
No, they have to self-identify that they're ICE. I don't see why they'd be undercover getting migrants. Right, they're going to people's workplace. Migrants work there. If you want to get everybody out the country, go there.
What if they're infiltrating a gang operation?
But they're not though. They may be doing that seldomly, but mostly they're going to places like Los Angeles.
They got a major MS-13 gang leader in,
but in
Virginia.
They're also getting all the employees in Pennsylvania so that farmers can't continue to do their work because they don't have people to cultivate the land. So yes, they're doing both. And I don't think you need to be masked in that instance, is what I'm saying. They don't have to be masked in Los Angeles when they go to factories and get employees.
But again, if people online are sharing their addresses, telling people to go to their homes and make their lives miserable and terrorize them just because they're doing their jobs, they shouldn't have any form of self-protection?
They certainly should, but there's also a way to go about making sure that ICE is protected that doesn't require them wearing masks. The president could actually work with local officials like the governors and leaders and mayors of certain cities to figure out how to remove migrants. That's his strategy, rather than trying to catch them off guard, pull them from workplaces, and do something that most of the country agrees in recent polls is not the best way they would move forward with immigration.
Well, then that is the Democrats' problem, because they don't cooperate with ICE. They don't allow local police enforcement to cooperate with ICE.
Because President Trump is skipping over
they're sanctuary cities, Lindsay.
He's skipping over all the steps, though. He's not having dialogue. He's not trying to have dialogue with any.
How do you have dialogue with?
He announces like we're going to go to Detroit next. He announces we're going to go to Chicago, and then he doesn't try to have a dialogue first. You go on a stage like he did with Tylenol and just announces things that are half truths, and then moves forward and tries to not like.
It is a law.
He's not an authoritarian president. Like
if you have a sanctuary law, the police are legally forbidden from cooperating with ICE. Yes. So how is Trump going to work with a Democratic governor or mayor who has a law in place that legally prevents them from cooperating with ICE? It doesn't make any sense.
He can pick up the phone and call people and figure out how to solve this. I don't think it needs to be handled in the way that it is.
And so they're just going to undo their sanctuary city policies.
They can have dialogue about it. No, New York
there's no dialogue
has been open about.
If you are harboring illegal immigrants, there's no dialogue. You have a law that prevents local law enforcement from working with ICE. Then ICE has no choice but to go in themselves and handle it.
Or President Trump can continue doing it this way, and that's the way that he wants to go about it. I just disagree with it. So we're going to continue to disagree on this issue. Coming up, Bill Maher is encouraging Stephen A. Smith to run for president, and the sports broadcaster isn't holding back when it comes to his criticism of his potential opponents. We'll be right back.